Hello, hello. I'm gonna try and make sure I have all my stuff set up. This is my second time streaming, and already had some technical difficulties trying to get my iPad to mirror, but I'm gonna have to do with that, I guess. Okay. So today, I am going to be attempting to work on a typeface that I kind of started up a couple days ago. It's nothing crazy. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but it's nothing crazy. This is my second time doing a typeface, and I'm trying to go about it a little more, I guess, a little more buttoned up than I did the first time. The first time, Arches was the font. I think that was, can't remember if that was last year or no, that was definitely last year. It was after a trip that Justin and I did out in the desert. We visited Arches National Park and Bryce Canyon and Canyonlands and all this really cool stuff. And yeah, I was just super inspired, and so I made a font and super minimal glyphs, like your basic numbers, parentheses, punctuation, that kind of thing. And I think I did that with Font Self. I think is what it was called. It's a free app that kind of acts as a plugin for Illustrator too. That you can just turn in your vector letters immediately into letters in a font and everything. And yeah, it was super down and dirty, super quick. Not the most professional way to go about it by any means, but nonetheless, I made a functional font. So this time I'm trying to kind of go about it a little more professionally, and hopefully getting more input from professionals that do typography and do typefaces and stuff for a living. So Dylan Mangas, if you're out there, don't judge too harshly. Hoodspah sisters, if you're out there, don't judge too harshly. But yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes, and I'll probably just show you guys some of the inspiration I've got going on here. All right. So I actually pull this little PDF I made. So this is kind of the initial inspiration I kind of pulled together. Anyone who's out there, say hi. Tell me what you're up to today. We're just designing and chilling. I'm just gonna be talking through my process, my mental thinking as I'm going about this. So yeah, this is some of my initial inspiration, and honestly, my favorite kind of typography and lettering and typefaces out there are mostly like a black letter, like a Germanic black letter. It's got a little like European 80s edginess to it. That's like my ideal typeface, I feel like. And but I also really wanted to dive into the thought of kind of combining what's typically like a harsher black letter font with something a little more retro, a little more soft. So you can kind of see on the left that I pulled some like retro diner / motel. They're more of a script kind of font, but seeing if I could combine a little bit of that with kind of some of the harsher edges that, especially in this top right image here, can kind of go with. I love even though this is a thinner version of what I'm kind of thinking, I love the harsh corners that kind of act as curves too, or like loops. I think that's really interesting. And then with this espresso image, yeah, I just love how it's not all connected, but it's still suggested what the letters are meant to be. And then yeah, just typical black letter stuff. I love there's some slight variation in the curve of some of these letters here, where it's not all like uniform. It's not like a weight line kind of thing. And yeah, I just love the slight curviness of it, but it's still pretty like blocky in a way. You can kind of, I think this is kind of more of the North Star of what I'm thinking here, and I'll show you guys this here. I went ahead and tried to vectorize a couple of the letters, or at least just this A, last night, just to kind of see, because right now in Procreate, I'm just really roughly outlining the letters that at least the lowercase letters. And so yeah, trying to vectorize this and see what it actually looks like filled is kind of a good visual to get a sense of how it looks like as an actual letter versus just a wireframe. I think we can kind of our eyes can kind of trick ourselves into thinking that, oh, this looks like a good letter. This looks like a functional letter that has all the right weight and sizing and everything. But when you fill it out, it's actually too blocky or too wide. Not proportional to the other ones. And so just kind of dissecting that and seeing what shapes have come out of that single letter that I can use for the other letters is kind of a big thing. And then this is just some really rough ideas for the all caps letters, because I haven't really touched those yet. And so yeah, I'm just trying to tackle this however best I can. And I'll probably keep referring back to this as I'm going, but yep, here is that Live Illustrator file. So let's see, what do I want to do here? Whoops. So I think I'm gonna make a new document. 1920 by 1080 is good. And then I'm pretty sure I have my Procreate like stencil pencil things that I want to just throw in here. There we go. So I have some with a faint grid in the back that I used in Procreate, and then some without. So this is what I mean by like it looks good, at least initially it kind of looks good on the surface in terms of like, yeah, this looks like, these all look like letters that should go together, but I'm sure once I get like filling these out, it's not gonna be the case. And that's part of the process, you know, is to just iterate, adjust, and iterate even more. And something that I'll probably do when these get a little more like solidified is I'll probably actually end up using glyphs, which is a more kind of an industry standard font creation, typeface creation app, but it's only used for Mac, so I can't use it here because I'm on my PC. So eventually, if I do another stream, or if I just do a quick like process video or something of using that after I learn how to use it, because I don't want to do a video that's literally just me learning how to use a program. I don't think that's very entertaining. So all right, so I got my A here, and I think the first thing I'm gonna do Control R and pull up my rulers and just kind of start making some rough guides here. Now I'm sure these guides will kind of change and adjust as I go, but just to kind of see where we're starting, I think is a good starting point. So I was learning a little bit more about typography in general this past week, and for those who know or don't know, like the terminology and everything of individual letters, yeah, it's very interesting. I definitely tip my cap to those who do this all the time, because it is a very technical kind of design that not many people think about. Especially when it comes to like kerning and just the increments and all that stuff. So I'm gonna lower the opacity on this just to kind of see what I'm doing. Do that to another layer just to keep it away. And let me know in the chat too if you guys have ever done anything like this, and what your experience is like. Very curious. So right off the bat, so I'm gonna start doing the B here. Start vectorizing the B. And I'm pretty sure when I was sketching this out, I literally just took the A and kind of reversed it, and just extended this. I think this is the stem, like what it's formally called. Lock guides. So I'm just gonna try and do that here and see how it goes. And I'm actually gonna save a copy up here too, just because I know that when I reverse it, this outer stroke here is gonna be on the right side instead of the left, and I'm probably gonna want to see what it looks like to where it's still containing this form right here, but where the stem is like on, whoops, where the stem is like on this side, if you know what I mean. Okay. Make sure it's actually following the guides here. Probably. Okay. Don't mind me if I'm just mumbling to myself. It's just me thinking out loud, which I don't do all that often, so. Grab those points. Make sure that it's staying correctly on that path, so I'm just gonna individually drag these up until you see that like pink line on the side there. It's kind of cute. So I'm gonna just, for right now, put a like an X height or God, I cannot remember the terminology. I literally just looked it up, was looking into it all last week, and I forget what they're called. So that's kind of cool. I'm going to preemptively just kind of take this like chunk off, or just move it back a little bit just to see. Now something too I'm kind of experimenting with this font is just trying to see what kind of balance I want to create with these sharper edges, these corners, and then these curved corners here, like the like this offset. So yeah, got two like harsh corners here and one right here, and just trying to pay attention to what's too much and what's not enough. So for anyone in the chat or anyone watching, say hi. Let me know what you're up to today on this fine Saturday morning. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna try and make a B that is keeping with the current like orientation of this A. So I'm just gonna literally just take this stem here, just kind of move it over. If I do Control Y, I can see the outlines of everything. Move that up to that max height right there. I have a feeling this isn't going to be tall enough for like a cap height or whatever it's called. But again, it's just for right now. We'll see. Wait, did I already do that? I'm losing my mind. Okay, so I think the first one I did correctly. I'll reflect that this time just to see. And then I'll move this back down. Hey, Rob. Aw. I do love a good chill Saturday. That's just watching someone else make something. Super inspirational. And I actually had you up on my laptop earlier this week when I popped in your stream as I was doing client work. Super fun. It's kind of nice sometimes just to hear other people's thought process through whatever they're making, even if you're not totally paying attention and you're just kind of like listening in the background. Yeah, so I can already tell that this is not going to be my favorite. I'm actually just going to delete this. That's all part of the process. Oh, save. I hate when this happens. I'm saving this out real quick. Okay. So now onto the C. I'm literally just going to copy the same letter form here, and I'm going to take this stem off so we don't need that. Now, the thing here is kind of determining, because with this, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. With this font, I'm trying to determine how I want to go about these like kind of script stems going on here, which if I'm not wrong, in like typeface creation and in font creation and everything, these are kind of tough to work with. And Hutzpah's Beverly Drive font, which is one of my favorites, does a really good job of having those tails and then having them all connect really well. And I'm trying to see if I can explore that with this a little bit. Nothing crazy, but just seeing, like, especially in this example here, if I can kind of pull that off. So I'm kind of preemptively just adding some tails to these, and then in glyphs, I'll be able to kind of fine tune and manipulate those a little bit better. Okay, I'm gonna grab these points here. I'm gonna pull that up. Now I'm not sure if I should actually extend the tail out quite yet. Just because that is the natural end to this tail right here, and I kind of want to just see what all these letters kind of have to offer before I start adding that tail in. All right. So now I'm going to try and do the D, where pretty sure, yeah, it's just taking this B and just moving the stem over. How about that? That's something I want to keep in mind too, is the width here. And just making sure it's not getting too wide or too chunky when we have something like the stem and these chunky curves kind of intersecting. So just kind of playing around and seeing where that balance is of where these things should meet. And I think maybe even this corner, this intersection could be a good marker. And again, this is a really, at least in the start, this is a good process for creating some rough letter forms that's not destructive. I think that's kind of the main key, which is why I wanted to initially kind of vectorize these out in their own like individual brush strokes, as if you were to actually like write it out, just because you want to be able to manipulate this stuff super easily. So something else too that I need to kind of keep in mind is this, again, I don't remember what it's called, but this little divot here, and how like dramatic and sharp this divot is in the A, and kind of going along with that for the D, where actually maybe I just take the A and just extend the stem a little bit. But yeah, this is all part of just seeing again how wide or how thin these letter forms should be. Rob, have you ever made a typeface before? Or anything? I mean, I know you work with type, but you do it a little more free-handed and illustratively. But curious to know if there's ever been like a project, whether it's personal or not, that was kind of difficult in a more like technical way, kind of like this. I know it's kind of a broad question. So yeah, I can kind of see already the difference between these two Ds here and just the width here in this like center right area and the little divot, and honestly towards the end, if these letters have like kind of the same width, I might need to adjust the A so that it resembles more of this first D there. We'll kind of work our way back around to that. For the E, I'm just going to copy the C. It might look like cheating, or might feel like cheating, but they say that there is 4 letters typically in the alphabet when creating a font that you want to kind of do first, which I didn't do. I kind of broke the rules here. I think it's a capital A, capital O, capital H, lowercase n, and a lowercase o. So it spells oh no, which is kind of a good way to remember it. But those letters kind of form a good foundation of kind of creating some of those initial pieces that you need to kind of create the other letters. But I just kind of went from the beginning with A. That's not going too bad so far. So, So with the F, well, I guess with all of these letters, I wanted to also consider the like variation of glyphs and everything in different letter forms and stuff like that. That, you know, if you have like a double F or a double L, it's treated differently than as if you were to literally type out individual Fs or Ls. And that kind of goes along with other letter combinations as well. I've had to make a tighter font for posters, just use little boxes. Never had the patience to do something like this. I don't blame you at all. Yeah, I think that's kind of the thing with creating a first typeface. A lot of people tend to go towards using their handwriting, which is cool. I thought about that for a second, but I'm like, I don't know if my handwriting is gonna be a good thing here to try and emulate in a technical form. So I did something inspired by nature, which I think is fun. But that's funny, Rob. I totally understand. All right, so I'm going to copy these guides, and I'll probably just start doing that down here too, just so I have them. I recently downloaded a typeface called Dream Boy by a friend of mine, Justin Remotap, that I went to CCD with. Super talented guy. So lucky to know him. He's always doing amazing stuff, and he's doing a lot more writing and poetry related stuff and making really beautiful artwork that goes along with it. And yeah, he created pretty sure it was like a lino cut or a wood cut typeface that he did a short little video on, and and he was calling out the fact that that the file size was huge because they're all just individual PNGs, which I thought was hilarious. But for a typeface like Dream Boy that he made, it kind of has to be, and I think he went about it in a really smart way. So yeah, I'm excited to use it. I'm going to be using it for my personal project, An Ode to Odds, here in the coming days, weeks, months. Again, however long it takes to finish that project, it's fine by me. Okay, so I took this chunky curve here from the E and kind of preemptively put it here. I have a feeling that this F is going to be a little too wide, but I want to think about... I need to put the guides in the right place. But yeah, I want to think about like the height of everything and where that should kind of fall. I have a feeling that's gonna be better. I'm gonna pull down one of these other letters with the stem as well, just to kind of see how they look together. And if I should make the F like a little taller. I kind of want to make it a little taller, just so it's not so, just so it doesn't make the other like stem like letters feel disproportionate. Which again, this is stuff I'm probably going to edit in glyphs eventually too, but we're getting the rough stuff down. So yeah, I'm just going to move this back up a little bit and over. And then for this cross here, you know what? I'm tired of not knowing the terminology for this stuff. I'm gonna look up the anatomy of a letter. Just so I can properly reference the parts of these letters for you. Okay, so I was right about the stem. And the crossbar is just considered a crossbar. Cool. So I'm not totally wrong. Some of my studying paid off. Okay, so since I don't have a crossbar currently, I'm just gonna make one real quick. And this I'll probably make two versions of this where one is a little sharper like this. And then, sorry, one sec. One is a little sharper. And then one's a little more curved. Kind of like this point down here. I want to make sure that the crossbar doesn't go too far over. So it can kind of live on its own, but at the same time, when it comes to making some cool glyphs, I'll want to have the F go like touch the next letter, so it kind of looks like it connects. Yeah, I'm not too sure quite yet about this. A cool thing that I'm excited for when working with glyphs is that when you work on a letter, you can see what it looks like when it's super small, like at the bottom of your screen. So you can tell if it's legible or not. And then obviously just kind of testing out some words and what other letters look like with each other. Okay. Cool, I think that's a good foundation. I'm gonna move this chunky guy here just a little bit. And then I'm gonna try and see what it's like to kind of seeing how these letters connect here and how I want to connect these two. I think I'll probably do something that tapers a little bit, like this thin to wider descender. Let's just see. So I'll connect this corner to this corner and just kind of curve it a little bit. Just see if that can do anything. It's a good start, but I think the only thing that's a little standoutish to me is this, like, this gap right here, where if you look at all of the, like, counters in the other letters and stuff, and in the edges, like, it's a very clean cut, like, corner. It doesn't go point to another point and then continues on, so I might just close that in here. And that already feels like that fits better within the family, I think. So if you haven't looked at my file already, I already named this typeface, even though it's nowhere near finished. And I'm calling it Fight Club because I think A, the movie is amazing, one of my favorites, and B, I think just the general aesthetic of what I'm trying to go for with this typeface, and it being a little black letter, but it being kind of like a little like streets in the night, neon signs on like a rock cellar or rock lounge, coffee and cigarettes, that kind of thing. If you guys have any other suggestions for names, I would love to hear them. Just curious. I always think that how people go about naming the fonts is super interesting. There's always a story behind it, and it's usually just a stroke of inspiration from something else somewhere else, and I think it's really interesting to pull that into an art form like typography. Speaking of fonts, what's your favorite font / typeface? And do you think it's typeface or font when it comes to set of characters like this, if you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure technically it's referred to as a typeface, and then fonts are referred to like the weight of them, or like the characterization of them, like it being italic or bold or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's the classification. Okay. So actually, I'm gonna adjust the crossbar a little bit to where it kind of tapers. It does that little taper. I'm gonna start there. Actually, I'm gonna copy these 2 points just so I can kind of get the measurement right. Ooh, it's kind of cool. Actually, I might just steal this. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, Fight Club, I'll never forget watching it for the first time. I think it was last year. And for some reason I had never seen it before. And I remember my boyfriend and I, Justin, we didn't have a coffee table yet. And so we would sit on the floor because we had this really comfy IKEA rug, and we would sit on the floor and watch all of our favorite stuff. That was kind of during our Cheers phase. We watched Cheers, and I showed him Frasier, which is my all-time favorite show for sure. Watched it at least 20 times through. But good, Rob. I'm glad that you like Fight Club. I think it's kind of spunky. Yeah, I like where this is going. A lot more character here than this this very sharp blade-like crossbar. I'm just gonna delete it because I'm not feeling it. Very cool. Yeah, I like this a lot. And I'm sure with people that do this for a living and do this regularly, they have a much sharper eye for looking at the very finite details of, I mean, just everything that goes into a single character, and that's why it takes a good amount of time to make a font like this. Well, especially like script fonts and all that kind of stuff can take forever. Okay, so something here I want to consider. So I like this individual F, but when I consider a glyph like having the double F, like if you were to spell waffle or something. Oh, Rob, are you a Frasier fan? If so, I'm so happy to have you. I actually have a Frasier mug. It doesn't say Frasier on it because of copyright reasons, but it's just the intro logo of the outline of Seattle on black. It's like one of my favorite mugs Justin got for me. Oh my gosh. Loved the episode with the silent opening with Niles and Eddie. Yes, that is such a good one. I think one of my favorite scenes, Niles is my favorite character by far. And one of my favorite scenes ever, I think, is from the Valentine's Day episode where you kind of get a sneak peek into what each character is doing on Valentine's Day. And I think Niles was preparing dinner for, can't remember if it was Maris or someone else. But he got to borrow Frasier's apartment, and there's no dialogue, and it's just him and Eddie. And he's cooking, and he's just being so frantic and neurotic like he always is. And he's just fumbling, and stuff catches on fire, and the music playing in the background too, he has on the stereo, is like this grand like classical opera that just escalates more and more like with the scene. I think it's just absolutely perfect. But it just reminds me of like the classic like satire, like Charlie Chaplin's like slapstick kind of comedy, which I love. I love Charlie Chaplin. And he's just such a phenomenal actor. Both David Hyde Pierce and Charlie Chaplin. But yeah, Frasier by far and away best show. Okay, so I'm kind of attempting here just to see what it's like to make this glyph that double F. It's kind of cool. I think striking that balance of how wide or how like close together these Fs should be. And I think too what I just found, which is a good marker, this corner right here. You can see it. This corner right here, where this F starts to intersect with the other F. I think that's a good marker because that's kind of what a lot of these letters are, is just corners touching, creating those like triangular edges, all that kind of stuff. DHP is the new... Oh, is he really? I don't think I know which one you're talking about. Julia Child show. I'm gonna look that up real quick. David. That's cool. I'll have to look into that. I didn't know that he was doing anything else. Oops. That's my reference. Move that. So what else do you have going on today, Rob? I don't even know if I have any, like, plans after this. I mean, I do. There's always stuff to do, but just what I feel like doing on a Saturday morning. And Justin's not here. He's away in LA for work currently, doing a shoot. So it's just me and my producer here. He's being a good boy. Hey, what's up? I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry. July? Not sure if that's a username or if that's your name. Either way, I'm sorry if I butchered it. Happy to have you here. Okay, so I think the F is good for now. I think I'm gonna look into the tails of these a little bit later. Because I want to see how these letters can kind of work linearly on their own currently. All right, so the G's. I have a couple options for each of these letters, and just kind of seeing what works and having a little variation to the typeface. So I'm pretty sure I copied the C here to use. There we go. Maybe work on some overlay stuff for Twitch. It's so funny you say that, because I looked at your Instagram story like right before I went live, not too long ago, and I saw some glimpses of your Twitch overlay with the old like Windows like original PC like setup on like a desktop. Oh, it's so good. I love that style. I don't think many people can pull off that style, and especially with like fitting with their like persona and everything. But I think for you, that's absolutely perfect. And the folders and everything, and like the little like windows with your camera in it, it's perfect. The double F be an alternate. Yeah, yes, the double F would be an alternate form. I think that's kind of the formal way of calling them, I think. So yeah, this would be an individual F, at least one version of them, and then this could be a secondary version of that F with the tail, and then the double F would be an alternate form. Again, as if you were to spell like waffle or something, or can automatically just kind of intersect those two. Okay, so the G. So I'm gonna steal a stem from, I think from the F, because it's a little taller. And something I'll probably do too, I'll probably steal the A. Just to see, and kind of compare that divot that I was talking about earlier. This divot here with the divot there. And if I should do it more like the A or more like this D here, where it's a little smaller. Just to have some reference. And honestly too, I did this on accident just now, but like I actually kind of like this, what's happening here in this counter. Like it's kind of an unfinished like stroke, if you will, and it's not like completely connected. I actually kind of like that. That's something I might actually try to explore these other ones. Yeah, so I can probably already tell that this A is going to be a little too wide here. It's a little too chunky in that area. I might try and make it like this D here. But we shall see. So I'll just finish this first G out, and then I'll kind of edit this counter a little bit just to see what we're feeling more. Let's do 1 point at a time. See that pink line keeps it in that same like path. Okay, now I'm gonna try and see if there's anything else I can steal from these other letters to kind of extend that out a little bit. Like this E here, I think is perfect. I'll just rotate that, flip that. Yeah, I like that a lot. And you can see too, like it's great again when forming a typeface to do it in chunks like I have here, so that it's non-destructive. You can easily just take bits and parts of it for other letters and adjust a lot easier. And you can kind of see in my sketch that this tail here is a lot longer than what it kind of technically should be. So again, it's a great way to see how far off you are from like where I guess like measurement wise you kind of should be. So I think I'm gonna just kind of like overlap this a little bit and delete the extra. So I'm trying to get a sense here for that should be a corner. Yeah, I think that's good. Just gonna make sure that the corners are touching. It's like one of the most annoying parts. This little guy is like trying to sneak away. Just snag this point and snap it there. Ha, there we go. Cool. Now I'll just copy this G and kind of see when it comes to this divot here and the counter what we're feeling more. Okay. So I'm actually going to change the color of this just so I can kind of see the overlap a little bit better. My library will load. Oh, and in good spirit of typography today, I am repping my one of my favorite mugs that my dear friend Drew got for me for my birthday a couple years ago when we were in college. It says hot stuff if you couldn't read it, but it's beautiful like script lettering to it. There you thought of me, but that was awesome. Okay, so I'm going to bring this to the front just to kind of see where the differences are here. So we can kind of see, obviously with this stroke here, actually I'm gonna delete that for this purpose and then copy this one. Paste it back. Whoops. Just so it literally is one-to-one to that D. Then we'll move this stem over a little bit. Nice. So yeah, I think the big question marks here is just going to be determining the counters and like the size of those and the shape of those so that they're all kind of consistent. They're kind of like this rounded triangle on each side, but with sharp corners. And then the little divots here with the intersection of the stem and the hold on, I'm referring to my anatomy of type sheet. To the ascender? I think that's right. Rob sees a doggo. Yes, that's my producer, Rocky. He is very much overpaid. No, but we're not playing. Go lay down. He has this fun quirk when he has his ball in his mouth, which is his favorite thing in the world. When you say no or like go lay down, he'll drop it dramatically, which is it was just so funny. Like he's shocked that you would tell him such a thing. Fix the stem there. Cool. Okay, so there's two different G's here. And again, too, I think that if it works out well, I think that these could actually act as alternate forms, like Rob mentioned with the F's. So So yeah, I think that's kind of cool. And I think too, I'll just kind of preemptively, whoops, group that. I also want to see too with an alternate form with 2 G's, because I would love for this this tail here to connect with the G over from it, but I don't want it to touch this main area here. So I'm just gonna really roughly just kind of pull this up just to see how that could look. We'll deal with that later. What I will do though, I'm gonna make a 3rd G that has this like loop with it. I'm gonna see if there's anything I can steal for a loop. Might honestly use this this bottom descender from the E again. That's kind of cool the way that it's sitting like that. And again, you kind of get that curved triangle a little bit. Might be a little too curved though. But I actually do want to see what this looks like where the tail kind of exits on the other end, and this area here isn't so like 4-corner-ish. Like it doesn't have that immediate intersect. You kind of have like 3 paths here, which we don't really want for these letter forms. Excuse me. So I'm just gonna rotate this and see how that goes. Oops. Mary asked how you came up with the original forms. Great question, Mary. Yeah, I'll pull the inspiration back over real quick. I did that like the very beginning of the stream, but it was probably a little too early. So this is the original inspiration I kind of pulled together, where I love German typography and like black letter typefaces and stuff, and I also love that retro 60s through 70s era of typography with like diner signs and like motel signs and stuff like that. It's usually more of a script font, so I'm kind of trying to marry the two a little bit. So these are just some like quick little samples I pulled, where you kind of see some of the sharp edges here in like these 3, but you also kind of see how that can tie in with a more of a script approach where things kind of connect a little bit. And I'm trying to make some variation to this typeface too, where it kind of connects like a script, and then it doesn't always have to, like not all the letters have to connect. So I'm just kind of playing around with that and seeing what feels best. But yeah, this typeface is going to be called Fight Club, where mentioned before, it's going to be kind of like a rock cellar, like coffee and cigarettes, late night diner kind of feel to it. A little more like Euro trash in a way. I already have some cool ideas for like the type specimens and illustrations that I want to do with this. But yeah, these are the original kind of inspirations for it. And especially in this top right one here, you can see like there's some of the triangle counters here that you see, these jagged edges and sharp intersections and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the inspo for this, but a little bit more of a black letter approach. Like a good example I'm trying to kind of think back to as I'm working on this is what this could look like as a late night lounge, or like bar kind of sign, and just how, you know, like keeping in mind the thickness of this so that like those neon light tubes can actually kind of go through it evenly, stuff like that. So just having those little like North Star markers to remember as I'm doing this is kind of what I'm trying to keep in mind. Hopefully that answers your question, Mary. Thanks for asking. And if you guys have any other questions about process stuff in general, and with typography, I'm still learning. Like, typography has always been a thing that I've always appreciated. I've always kind of incorporated it into my work somehow. But when it comes to like the technical side of it, like designing a font or a typeface, definitely not as well versed with it. And I think you can only get better with it as you practice it. Okay, so I don't really like what I just did here with this sharp corner. It's a little too sharp. Take this back and I'll actually add a point here on this path and just connect it to that one. Adjust these handles a little bit. Don't want that to be too curved looking. What do you guys have on the books to work on next week? Curious if you're creative or not. My coffee is dead ass cold right now. It's one of my biggest pet peeves is that I don't drink my coffee fast enough because I'm working and using both of my hands for my keyboard and mouse or trackpad. And I never drink my coffee in time. Designer things, you know. I need to get one of those mug warmer plate things that just keeps it warm constantly. Okay, so I think that's a decent iteration of that loop there. I will, however, kind of start to think about the tail that kind of exits out on the other side. So I'm gonna copy this little swashbuckly looking piece right here and just kind of. It's funny that this is literally the same piece as this one right here in this G, and I could honestly just take the end points and just kind of extend it out a little bit like that. Now, I'm not trying to get too much into the tails of these right now because that requires its own like measurement increment, I guess, where they all kind of need to like end at the same point so that they connect in the right way, if that makes sense. So I'll just kind of leave that for now, and get more into that later with glyphs, probably the app. Cool. So we have 4 G's. And I like all of them. I think they're kind of cool. I'll group those, and since there's more than I planned, just move those off to the side so we can focus on the H. Now the H was one of the first letters I actually drew out in Procreate. Just for that stem and that kind of like that crossbar that kind of tangents off over here, and then what a thinner like stem could look like for some of these. And it actually might be too thin now that I'm like looking at all these other ones, but we will work on it. So I'm going to steal the stem from here. Line that to that bottom guide there. I know the guides are cyan right now. I'm going to see if I can try and change that so you can see it better. There we go. I'm going to change it to a pink. Whoops. There we go. Hopefully you can see that better. Out of all the letters, which one's your favorite so far? I think mine is... I think mine might be the C. Or the E. I mean, they're based off of the same, based off of each other, but... Yeah, I don't know. I think the C, again, it's just 3 strokes, super simple, but I think it really does a good job of doing what I want it to do. Sets a good bar for the other letters, I feel like. I'm gonna change the music here a little bit. Okay. So I'm gonna kind of look and see if there's any piece I can steal for this curve. Might just steal the original, like, A curve. Yeah, that's gonna be too curvy. Never mind. Might just have to pen tool this bad boy out. Big fan of the F. I like the F too. I was definitely looking at the F a little bit. And I think yeah. Yeah, now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're right, Rob. Yeah, I think what I like the most about it is that swashbuckly crossbar. Just kind of like tapers out, widens out a little bit. I'm trying to kind of create a new bit of letter form here that we don't have anywhere else. So I'm hoping that this kind of acts as a good piece to use for other stuff. Do you ever notice yourself when you're designing something or making something and you're just kind of like cocking your head over a little bit like a dog? I do that. I feel like I do that all the time and I don't even notice it. I was making sure that a video that I posted recently, might have been the first live stream I did actually last week. Was making sure that everything uploaded correctly. And I just caught myself like doing this with every little thing that I was doing. So funny. Rocky, lay down, bud. Goodness, it's being a spaz. If he gets whiny, I apologize. That's kind of his thing. Okay, I actually like how that is kind of curving off like that. Now I want to make sure that when coming back down, because these 2 strokes are pretty like thick, like they're kind of the max thickness that I want, I think, other than this guy. But I don't think I'll make... Maybe that's an iteration that we do. Maybe I make this a little bit thicker, like the other, these like curved parts of the letters here. I think that could be kind of cool. I'm actually going to extend the stem so that's a little bit higher and doesn't look like an N on accident. I'm gonna kind of copy the height here of this F. So we kind of broke the rules a little bit with that F. Yes, I think that's nice. And I might actually end up extending the stems of like the B and the D and everything too, so it kind of matches these taller letters, just so that there's a little more contrast, a little more differentiation there. Okay. So I'm trying to like look around and see if there's any like thinner bits that I can kind of steal from the other letters. Actually, I'm curious to see what the crossbar of this F could do. I rotate this and flip it. Again, this could be a disaster, but oh no. See, already a disaster. Alright, we'll transform, reflect vertically. Okay. Now this as a character on its own I think is pretty cool, but I don't think it matches what we're trying to go for here. So I like how it tapers a little bit. It gets a little wide towards the end, but I'm going to make sure that those corners stay consistent. Yeah, that's pretty neat. I like that. But does it fit with the rest of the family? That's what we have to find out. So I'm curious to know if I have like this descender or like bottom foot part, and then the descender having a little bit of overshoot there. Might be a little too much, but okay. I think that's pretty good. And same thing that I'm kind of looking at here with these other letters is that space, that really thick space here, and if it's too much, where those pieces kind of intersect, I want to make sure that it's not too much there. And the way we can probably solve that is if maybe I don't make this as thick as I did. So I kind of want to match. This is kind of like the ultimate, like the thickest part of the letters here. I just kind of want to roughly measure. Interesting. So this longest edge right here is actually larger than what I just did. But something that I've learned with typography, and especially creating typefaces, is everything is an optical illusion, essentially, in that what might be measured out, like technically, might not be visually the best decision. It's pretty interesting when you look at like overshoots, like just that little, a couple pixels that go either above or underneath like what you set as like the max, your max height or your max like base. Yeah, it's all optical. And a fun fact about like lowercase i's, and when you dot the i's, is that typically, and it depends on the typeface, but typically the dot of the I is a little bit bigger than the width of the stem of the I, which I think is super interesting. I didn't know that like a couple years ago. But yeah, it's just super interesting, the finite detail and trickery that goes into creating a typeface. But again, all the more reason to have so much more respect for the people that have to look at letters all the time. It's a beautiful art form. Just kind of adjusting this corner and this curve here a little bit. It doesn't feel too curved. I'll group that. Now again, I'm gonna hold off on the tails here for a little bit, but I think with this H, because I do see the H having a tail in general, so I'm just gonna make a quick one and just see. Whoops. This is super rough. So yeah, I think whether it's another live stream, like a continuation of this little mini personal project I have going on, or if it's like an edited video that's just a quick overview of the process, I'll probably try to tap into using glyphs, the the app that's a little more industry standard for making typefaces, and just see how it goes. Okay, so I guess this isn't connected for some reason. No, wait. Interesting. Guess I didn't connect these bottom points here. Need to do that. Again, this is just super rough, but I'm just curious to see how it could go, you know? I think it's a good start. Okay, moving on to the eye. If you're just popping in, let me know what you're doing today on this fine Saturday. It is 9:11 a.m. here in Phoenix, Arizona. Sunny skies, temperatures of I want to say at least 90. It's already summer here, which is insane. Justin and I moved out here, I think it was June 1st is when we officially moved in. And that was like summertime. And we knew it was going to be hot here. And that's all everyone talks about here. And it's not that bad, honestly. I think, especially it being a dry heat and it comes in, oh gosh. And it's only a couple months out of the year, whatever, you know. It's better than having really just gray, bland skies every day, and there's no snow, there's no rain, it's just gray out, like Ohio was for a while. But yeah, when Justin and I moved out here, it was hot as hell. We're like, okay, cool, but it's beautiful, sunny every day, blue skies, literally not a cloud in the sky most days here, which is pretty crazy. And so we just experienced what fall and winter felt like here. Absolutely amazing. It was actually like cold a lot of times. And if we were a little bit more north, like where Flagstaff is, we would have had snow, but because Flagstaff had a lot of snow, which is where a lot of people go skiing and stuff. But not in Phoenix, unfortunately. And so we're just now experiencing what like fall/winter into spring into summer feels like. And it's so funny because I feel like it just skips spring. Like there's no, like we're technically in spring, but like all the trees are blooming and stuff is like bright and colorful, which it usually is anyway, but a lot more stuff is blooming right now. And, but it is like immediately feeling like summer. Remember on my birthday last week was when I really started feeling it outside. It was getting like 80 or so, and I was like, oh man, it's coming. It's not winter that's coming, it's the heat wave that's coming. But it's a 4-month-long heat wave. So I'm curious to know where all you guys are from and what the weather is like there. Certainly probably not like Phoenix to that degree, no pun intended. But probably, hopefully not as gray as Columbus, Ohio was for us. Okay, so with this eye, I'm trying to contemplate if I want any bit of it to be curved or if it should just kind of stay like a jagged, like italic, you know, just rectangle kind of thing. I want to make sure too that, okay, just make sure it's actually like even across. And I think too, with the dot of the eye, this is where we can kind of have a little bit of fun. In that, I don't think I want it to be just a simple, it's definitely not going to be a dot because there's not a lot of roundness going on in this typeface. Definitely have a little more like jankiness, a little more jaggedness to it. But I'm wondering if something like, oh gosh, if something like this, this thick like brush stroke could be a thing, like a more subdued, shorter version of it. I move that down, Forgot that I have other points here. Whoops. Actually, I want to keep those. The pen tool. Can't live with them, you can't live without them. I feel like that's the motto of the pen tool. I think I mentioned on my first live stream last week the story of how I along with my classmates sophomore year really dove into learning how to use the pen tool, and oh my god. our assignment, our main assignment was to trace the Coca-Cola logo with the pen tool. Talk about a lot of teary-eyed art students that day with how bad our letter forms was, and where our points were. Our teacher could see all of the points after we like printed it out. She could see where every curve was, every point. It was just so funny that an unexperienced art student like ourselves didn't really know the wiser of how visible that stuff can be. There we go. I think that's a good start to a dot of the eye. I'll probably finesse this a little bit more at some other point. But I do like that, just that little curved brush look there. Okay. I'll move these G's back over, I think. Now let's just build a word real quick. We'll just build out hi. Simple enough. And see how that kind of looks together. Especially with the thinking about this tail here and how this might need to extend. It might have to extend to this. I don't even know what guideline this is. Is this the... Oh, I see. Wait. Yeah, I don't even know where this guideline came from, actually. But it's actually not a bad one, considering where the tail might need to go. Just gonna kind of see what that could be. But yeah, this is kind of what I'm trying to go for. With having the tails and connecting letter forms. I think it kind of has a cool, like carefree, jagged, yeah, just cool, like little bit of a retro vibe to it, which I like. Again, I'll probably revisit this dot of the eye here, but I think overall it's not a bad start. And then just kind of roughly like looking at it from far away and seeing how it looks. And I think right off the bat, I'm seeing definitely a little too much thickness going on here with these G's, all four of them, which is funny because I've been talking about that this whole stream, and just trying to find that balance of like how close that stem should be to the rest of the letter, just to avoid that chunkiness that you can kind of see from far away. It's all a big balance act. And I think too, when I'm done with this typeface, I would love to make some specimens that are animated and some like fun, just like GIF-like things. Just to show its like, hopefully show its versatility that I'm hoping to have for this. I'm just gonna copy the stuff, the good stuff from the G since it has the same general shape. And I'm also going to take the dot of the eye. So I don't want this stem to be as large as it is because the dot of the eye is going to be way up there. We don't want that. So I'll just bring that down here for now. Okay, thought I saw some straggling points there. Okay, not bad, but I have a feeling that J is probably still too tall. Lock the guides. Just gonna see what it looks like with everything else real quick. Yeah, so I will want, yeah, so I think the stem of the J actually needs to kind of be max at the height of the eye so that these dots, the dots of the eye can properly align. I'll just bring that down there. Well, actually, I'm gonna make sure that that's starting in the proper place first. Okay. This is random, but I'm always ending my YouTube videos with telling people to feel free to let me know of any suggestions they have for future videos or future streams in this case. Just design and illustration and fun stuff related. Yeah, definitely let me know if there's any ideas there. You can hit me up on Instagram or Twitter or in the chat or email, whatever. Yeah, definitely happy to hear what the people have to say and like what they want to see. I think the best thing about design and the kind of stuff that creatives do is the process. Because a lot of times it's not so much of a thing now, or not as much of a thing now, but you know, for a long time, process has kind of been gatekept, and not wanting to share the secrets of how the sausage is made and everything, which sure, granted, you know, you don't want people, especially like people that are, you know, direct competitors of you and stealing business from you or, you know, being better than you, essentially. Like, you kind of want to be the person that's known for a certain type of thing, but in the end, you know, education for design and everything is just so much more accessible, and people are going to do whatever they can to learn the tricks of the trade. And I just think that just sharing like how you do stuff, and a lot of people being surprised that how someone does one thing might be a totally different way someone else does something, but it still gets the end product. It still gets the end product really well. So yeah, I kind of want to provide something like that with the videos that I do, and just showing how I do stuff. And if people kind of happen to take notice and tell me that there's a much easier way or a better way of doing it, I am all ears. I just want to get better at things, you know? Just want to be a better designer. Okay. So I'm going to steal this G now with the little loop. With the loop and the tail, just to see. I'm going to change this a different color just to see a little bit better. Whoops. I'm not totally sure how... Don't mind me, I'm just talking to myself real quick. Okay. Let's just see how this could be a thing. Oops. I'm gonna align this if I can. See if I can just bottom align that real quick. There we go. Okay, so that's perfectly aligned, which is nice. And I just want to take out these couple of chunks here. I want to keep this one because that's where the that tail ends too. So I'm gonna take away these other points here so it doesn't destroy the rest of what's going on over here. There we go. Kind of like how it's like kind of tapering like that in a curved way a little bit. So like before, I'm gonna drag down the height of this stem a little bit. Oops. And I'm probably just gonna take what was the G here that's green and just use it so I don't have to merge anything. Like that. Okay, I'll copy that, delete it, delete this stuff, and then I'm going to paste it in place. Just group that back together. Nice. Okay, well, something I actually have to think about. If I were to line this up, the tail, I'm pretty sure needs to kind of be the same, end at the same point as the ones we have going on over here. I'm trying to align this. It's so finicky. But where this tail lines up, which is already incorrect based on the guide that we added here. So if I were to like just move this, oh my gosh, or just move this down. And then move these points down so it looks like it's actually crossing through in one stroke. Just going to take that away. Maybe make this a little like a curved point. Oops. Like so. Kind of keep some of that like curved taper. Make sure that the width is kind of in the same vein. Okay. Not too shabby. I keep saying that I'm gonna deal with the tails in glyphs, but here I am dealing with the tails. Okay, I'll move the J back over here. I'll probably just delete that J because this one's gonna be a little more accurate in the end. Okay. Curious to know, for you guys who, or anyone out there who does personal projects, what your favorite personal project was that you did just for you or did for a certain reason, but you know, you were the you were the everything on it, the creative director, the art director, all that stuff. I'm curious to know what your guys' personal projects are like. Actually gonna take the whole H with the tail. Okay. So we kind of have the basis kind of set up for this K here. And whether I stay true to this like thinner like tangent point or this thicker one, we shall see. We shall see what works best. Trying to align this here as bottom guide. Okay. Get it? Okay. So we're doing okay. Alright. Gonna just kind of separate these points here real quick. And already I can actually see a really cool, at least iteration of the K where this is, it's just these two strokes and then maybe this kind of stems out like this. I think that could be interesting. It's definitely got that blocky, kind of sharp quality to it that we're kind of going for. I think I would want it to be a little more curved though. It's being a little too like perpendicular. Trying to kind of see where this actually like goes off to. I was gonna save this tail for later. I'm trying to see with this overshoot that you can kind of see with the A. There's a couple pixels of overshoot there. And I kind of want to match that. I want to make sure I match that with this K here. So I think that could be a K. We'll try another one where maybe this is a little more curved. Okay, I'm liking that a little bit. Now somewhere in this K we need to kind of figure out where the thin, that thinner variable kind of comes into play. Like you can see in the other letters, there's at least a taper somewhere that has like this H, for example. It kind of has a good measurement of like the thinnest part of the letter. And just trying to keep that consistent in some of these that have like a smaller feature to them that kind of stand out on their own. So I think I'm actually going to steal that part of the H for measurement purposes. And actually I might just use it directly as like a part of the K. Just there is no guesswork there. That's actually kind of interesting. It does have that like curved triangle look that we're kind of going for in like all parts of these counters, which I think is nice. And then it kind of like lines up vertically too in that way. But I will try and see what it might look like to have a tail go off of that. And it might end up being a little bit more of a curved tail than it is this like jagged tail that we kind of see going on here. Just because it's a little too obvious. But I don't know. I don't know if it works quite yet. Maybe the K doesn't need a tail. Maybe it does. I'm not sure yet. So I'll just delete that for now. And we shall move on. So again, I'm kind of going with, I get a little ahead of myself when it comes to the end product of this and the kind of art direction and like style and like type specimens and illustrations that I want to kind of create to show this this typeface off. Kind of going with like an underground zine, rock cellar, Euro trash, you know, coffee and cigarettes, like nightlife, like European nightlife in a way. It's just a little darker. So that's kind of the thing I'm going for here. If you guys have any ideas for like illustration ideas, and they can just be simple silhouettes, or like objects. I have an idea for one of them to be like a beer label, but it's like a Hefeweizen, which is like a German style of beer, or a Zinfandel, which is like more of a wine. But I think a Hefeweizen is a good word in general from like a typography standpoint to show off these letters when they get to a really good spot. So just kind of doing like a more retro version of like a Hefeweizen brand, and then like a late night diner that's like maybe like a donuts and coffee place, and then like an alleyway scene that's like it's nighttime, but all you see is like a neon sign in this font, and it can be in German or English or whatever, but it's like a rock cellar, like a concert hall or something, with like people mosh pitting and stuff inside. I think that could be kind of cool. Not the mosh pit part. I'm not illustrating a mosh pit, but the outside of it. Okay. Copying this L here. I think the L will be pretty simple. Oh, whoops. I'm gonna delete this part of the K. Pretty simple L. Actually, I'm gonna take this I with the tail, because I think the L should have some kind of unique characteristic to it that kind of goes with the rest of the typeface, and I think that the stem of the L will kind of act as that. So I'm gonna align this here at the bottom. And then I'll just extend. Whoops. Again, I'm looking for that pink line that shows up when you're dragging the point, just so it stays on that path. And I can't remember. Okay. I was gonna say wanted to make sure that the max like stem height was there and it wasn't overshooting. Come on, where's that pink line? Nice, there we go. Took a minute, but we got there. So yeah, that's something too. Maybe I copy this from the H. And see what this the stem that is on the lowercase h that actually connects. See how that looks. I like that. It's nice. That stem on the lowercase h that I adjusted over here might be the North Star, I think, for these tails. Okay. I'm probably... Yeah, I'll probably try and get through the rest of either like down to this second to last row here. And just see where we get to, and then I'll save the next part for another stream or for another video. Okay, for this M/N, gonna steal from the H. Hi, Justin. Thank you. Justin's away on work right now. Love you, buddy. Just popping in to check on me. Super sweet. Okay. So I've got this basic stem here. I'm gonna lower this down. So that it's the same height as like the other lowercase letters with the stems. Oh shit. Yeah, you're right, Justin. I didn't tweet that I was live. Whoops. Social media is hard. As I say as I'm doing YouTube. Yeah, that's my bad. Yeah, I don't know why. I think Instagram has kind of been my go-to spot lately for announcing all this YouTube stuff. Okay, so I think this is pretty cool. I like how there's kind of this like tertiary counter space going on here, and it kind of accentuates this. I don't even know what I'm calling these now. This diagonal swashbuckly piece. I like calling it that. So I'll keep this as an iteration, but then I will copy it and bring this second half in to connect that. So it's that rounded triangular corner. Bye, Justin. Love you, bud. And I'll bring that in. There we go. It's an M. Okay. I think the best part about having a lot of these vector forms kind of worked out already, even these are still super rough, but having this to take to my fellow designer colleagues that I can show, and I can ask for some advice and just try and help figure out, like, to see what from their point of view what I'm not seeing, and just help make this better. So I'm very excited for that. But yeah, just doing the heavy lifting is the hardest part, and just trying to start, I think, is the big hurdle you have to get over. So I think initially the two problem letters I'm seeing is ironically the M that we just made, both of them, and kind of the N too a little bit, and the G's, and that there's a lot of bold dark space right here. You can kind of see that when you zoom out a little bit, and they're definitely like a bolder letter that stands out a little bit more from the others, which you don't want. They all need to kind of harmonize and be a little more synchronized, you know what I mean? So maybe that means like bringing this stem in a little bit. Actually, before I do that, I'm gonna copy this so I don't ruin anything. You don't want your process to be destructive by any means. So maybe I bring the stem in a little bit. I kind of married those curves right there to that. Okay, I think that's interesting. And then yeah, maybe this thick swashbuckly part is a little too thick. So maybe I just bring that down just a little bit. And I'll just delete these other 2 points that are a little different. You can kind of see that already makes an N there. And again, just kind of looking at the counter, like free spaces that, the negative spaces that those create. So I'll delete this stem there. Okay. It's not too shabby. And I think this kind of goes along with, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I assume that this kind of goes with making like bold or extra bold, super variations of the typeface and adjusting the widths of all of the letters and not just adding like a stroke or something on the outside of everything to make it like outwardly bolder, but it's about that negative space is what I've learned. Okay, so here I want to bring this in so it connects here instead of it being open like that. Kind of makes the letter a little bit thinner too. Okay, that's not too bad. Definitely have more of a like triangular, like teethy looking counter here, which I think is kind of cool. And that's kind of an interesting thought too, of like just having the corner here intersect with the edge here, but I don't think it's gonna work super well personally. Okay, so we have some different versions of the M and the N. And they're very minimal adjustments, but I think overall that's what's going to really sell the cohesiveness and the look of everything. So let's see if we add an M to the end of high to make the word him, if that starts to look like something. And actually I can see, I think that the stem height for the M might be too big in general, because I think this counter right here is just too big when you look at these other ones and they're super small. So, good to know. But I just want to make sure I create some consistency here. Alright, I think I'm gonna make the O, and I think I'm gonna call it for this stream today. Thank you guys for those who stopped in and saying hi on this lovely Saturday. What letter do I want to steal this from? Probably the E, because we're going to use a version of that. Actually, take the E and the B. Kind of messed myself up here. I think the guides are getting a little jumbled up, a little confusing. Okay. So I'll just delete the stem here. And there we go, there's an O. Oh, that's funny. That was a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. Let's see, just out of curiosity, what this looks like. Say, hi-oh. And actually, if we make this bigger, we can spell Ohio. Ooh, look at that. We have a word. We have a state. And that's actually a good thing to think about now that I'm seeing it, is like the kerning, the tracking between these letters and what can touch and what shouldn't. But I think it's kind of cool that it touches like that. But I do think the O is way too big. It's too tall. So I'll have to go in and adjust that. And that's a good point to think about as well. Another point is that if the O is too big, then these other lowercase letters that have like the rounded feature to them, like the A, B, C, D, and the E, if the O is too tall, then those other ones are probably going to be too tall too. So that's good to know, but hey, we are on our way. Save that. So thank you guys for stopping in and watching me try and develop this new typeface called Fight Club, and yeah, just being part of the process. I think that's a super cool thing. Whether I continue to vectorize this stuff in another stream or try to learn how to use glyphs beforehand and do that in another stream or an edited video, I think that'd be a really cool thing just to show my mental process and hopefully get some good feedback from you guys on how to make it better. But yeah, just thank you guys for being here. I'll see you next time.